These conversations were recorded in the summer of 2020. We wanted to put artists who'd met through Green Man back in touch as we all try and navigate the fallout of the COVID-19 global pandemic. The results were so good that we couldn't not share them with you too. We hope they give an insight into how artists think, their experiences at Green Man, and what they talk about behind closed doors.
Hello, I'm Megan Broadmeadow and I'm a visual artist. Originally grew up in North Wales and my parents still live in North Wales, and I make work in Wales, but I do live in Bristol. And yeah, I'm a visual artist also with background in performance, and I make videos, installations, and still occasionally do some live performance as well. For Green Man, I exhibited a piece of work which is called Seek, Pray, Advance, Episode 2, The Fourth Kind. And basically it was a piece of work that was part of a touring exhibition that started off in London in Southwark Park Galleries, and then moved to Green Man and went to Quad for the final episode. It was a sci-fi adventure romp, which I'll talk more about in a bit. And yeah, I think that's, you might remember it if you were in Green Man. It was in the kind of fielded area, just quite close to the main stage, by the stream. It was like this box that crash landed into the park, and had a kind of video screen inside it, smoke coming out of it, and some puppets at one point, if anyone saw those. Cool, that's me.
Cool. Hi everyone, my name is Antonia Roberts and I'm an artist based in Birmingham, originally from Leicester. And yeah, my practice broadly is dealing with digital technology, so I make a lot of work using programming and code, usually videos, animations, sometimes still images. But for Green Man in 2017, I did an installation which I now realize is also a box. Well, a series of boxes. It seems like boxes were a theme. So yeah, I did a piece called Mirrored, again 2017, which was really trying to recapture the experience of, I guess, seeing live visuals, but in more of a fixed physical form. And yeah, I guess we'll talk more about it later, but yeah, that's what I did.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to talk a bit about my work. Excuse me if I look to the side because my screen's on the side. So yeah, I thought I'd start with Seek, Pray, Advance, which was the touring show from which the Green Man work came. I could say it started, it's a 3 to 4 year project in the end. Started with a research grant from the Arts Council of England and Wales. Yeah, it basically looked at sci-fi religions and people, specifically the leaders of those religions, and people that went from being an ordinary person to becoming an extra religious leader. So I was looking at lots of reports of kind of, an extra religious leader usually involves some sort of alien contact. So they believe in, for example, Christianity, but they also believe in that Jesus might live on Mars or something like that. So yeah, it's a really interesting combination of kind of belief systems, and also quite often the people that become leaders go through quite an interesting shift in their personality from being a very normal person to becoming a leader. So yeah, the work was looking at how, yeah, I looked at lots of sci-fi films, I looked at lots of religious texts and lots of reports, and then essentially what I came up with is a kind of collage. So we have videos where two lead characters who both play the same person, or the ordinary person, go from normal to becoming leaders throughout the 3 exhibitions in Southwark Park Gallery, which I'll just scroll through here. This is what was in Green Man, the box. Wow, that goes fast. Portals. And Southwark Park Gallery, this is one of the lead characters. They're both dancers. There's a lot of dance involved in the films. There was videos in kind of like alien sci-fi blobs, there was tunnels, there was a choir. There's a lot of things going on, so I'm not going to be able to explain it all in the amount of time that we have, but hopefully get a sense of like what all 3 shows were like. And yeah, basically, the first episode you get to meet the characters and you see them get given this box, which you can see there. In the second episode, Green Man, the box has crash landed to Earth, and it's showing some of the videos from the first episode, but also there was a new piece which you'll be able to, new video which you'll see on the green screen, the Green Man screenings, called Pillars of the Earth, and there it is in the back there. And then yeah, then when he went to Quad in Derby, there was this big portal which is in the background there, where people can interact with, and the planet was a bit darker, and yeah, there was just a few changes. So and there was a VR piece, so it changed each time it went, and you got more of the story each time you visited one of the shows or saw it. I also had an element in a magazine, CCQ magazine, which is a Welsh magazine, and I did a performance at Chapter Arts Centre as part of Experimentica with the sci-fi choir that was set up for the project. I thought I'd just go back, around there. So yeah, you can see I use like digital technology, filmmaking, VR, lots of different ways to kind of express the stories and the narratives, I guess. In Carnival Moor, which I did for the National I suffered in 2018, this was a large-scale intervention in the waters at Cardiff Bay. So there was projections using water spray. Sorry, my slides are going so quickly. I'm only just on my website, so it's a few teething problems. It's like, woo! But yeah, in this one, I was looking at these, kind of looking at the beings that exist within the water, like the plankton. Got to speak to and work with people from the university. We started to talk about how they use jellyfish protein to fight cancer. And I worked with carnival costume makers from Boot Town in Cardiff Bay to create a story in which these characters kind of emerge from the water, and one of them, the green one, is the protein, the actual protein molecule which is used to fight cancer, and the red costume is kind of like the cancer cells coming out of the water, and there's a jellyfish played by Griff Rhys. So it's kind of like a fun play on all the research, but had a sort of narrative to it, but it's also kind of quite immersive and abstract. So yeah, that was that piece. So I just sort of give a sort of slightly different, that's the most large scale piece of work I've done really. And again, it was in Wales, which is always important to me. You can see there how the water's kind of working. It's projected on a mist. And yeah, I just thought also just quickly touch upon sort of quite often there's a character involved in the work. So in Plymouth, I had a solo show down there, and I was working with the idea, where I did a research trip to I did a research trip to a factory called Claypacky, which is the manufacturer of disco lights. And I went there to research the maker of the disco lights, Pascal Quadri, or who was also known as Claypacky. And so, yeah, in this piece, you know, I'm kind of using this sort of the materials that might normally, you know, be held to create a show, lighting show, and making them the stars of the exhibition. So using moving head projectors, playing with scale, so you feel like you're inside a disco light, like this piece here. And yeah, that's one of the original lights that he made. So yeah, there's a story built up about this character. And yeah, I guess that's something that happens through all my work. This is sort of, there's a narrative and a script that I'm working to, and you kind of, things are unfolding as you go through the space. So yeah, I thought there's a little nod here to, you know, in the Green Man piece, there was truss, and I was using lighting, and, you know, so these sort of things, I like the technology that you get on a stage and putting it into an art gallery. So yeah, that's a kind of, in a nutshell, overview of some of the things that I do.
Right, let me get some. Let me share my screen and have a look at my own website. Yeah. Which one should I share? Am I sharing my website? Yeah, I am.
Nice.
Right then, yeah, so I guess I'm just talking about my practice really for a bit. I won't start with the Green Man artwork, I'll start with something else. Anyway, actually start now. So, yeah, I think I'll just give a little bit of an overview of my practice, what I do, and how it's evolved over the years. Yeah, I show this one just because it's now actually a piece that's 10 years old. I did a remake of like Alvin Lucia's I Have to Sing in the Room piece, which I'm basically using it as an exploration of glitch art, and you can see how it gets glitchier and to the point where it just is a distorted mess. And that's a really good way of describing my practice as a whole, I think, in some ways. Like, I like to explore noise and corruption, data corruption, especially, and looking at, especially early on, looking at how systems they break and they corrupt and produce sometimes very nice artwork. So, like, for example, this, I remember this artwork, some of my favorite songs from 2012, I basically made a mix CD, and rather than sharing the CD, I took the data of it and transformed it into an image. So, like, these are popular, I say popular songs, best songs, like some of them like Deftones or Square Pusher, it's very noisy stuff, but like, you know, that idea of corruption, but also how it looks, the colourful outputs of it really is what I'm after. And jumping forward a couple of years, it's perhaps one of the piece that I use quite a lot, Glass. This piece in particular, these are stills from a video piece, which was made for Tate in 2014, and yeah, it's really just. I called it glass because I think someone described it as it looks a bit like glass, and like how it's made is called generative way. So rather than having, you know, a still image, I use programming, use code to make this image and feed it a lot of random variables so that it's always changing and evolving over time. Like you have numbers which describe the position of some of the colors, numbers which describe the shape of the thing in the center, and if you randomize those values over time, it will always just be different all the time and forever. And yeah, this kind of aesthetic has been in everything that I do from then until now, and it won't ever leave me, which has sometimes led me to do works for example, this was an MTV, still from an MTV ident I did in 2016. I won't try and show the video of it, but you can see it's colourful. There's a, well, I won't tell the backstory of that. But also, as a side, well, not as a side, it's a big part of my artwork as well. I like to explore copyright as well, and the ideas of ownership and authorship. So this was a piece that I made in a gallery installation for Llwyd Arts in 2016, and you can kind of see who it is. It's Mickey Mouse, but he's all glitchy, like, looks a bit glitchy. And it animated. It was a projection, it was a wall projection, which is quite large, as you can now see in this image. And yeah, but I still explore those ideas using that same corrupted way. Something else which I do, which I haven't got a picture of here, but I also do a lot of live performance. Very briefly, I do lots of visuals for musicians, for bands, a lot of live performances, and this thing called algorithms, where people are making visuals and music using programming, but live on stage. It's like an algorithmic rave, hence algorithms. Cool name. I do, so those same sorts of visuals that you're seeing just before, I do those live on stage as well, using the same methods. And that's really what brings me to, I guess, my piece with Mirrored. So yeah, 2017, I hadn't done really much work, or let's say much. any work outdoors. I've done a few installation pieces, but very, very much smaller scale. And so for this, I wanted to try and replicate the experience of seeing live visuals, a kind of psychedelic way of doing things, but in a physical form. And it was a crazy experience. I'll tell you that. It was to go from doing mostly video-based work and working on a screen to something where you are front and center in front of tens of thousands of people. It really pushed my boundaries and gave me a lot of different skills and insights into how at least work, which is usually very contained within like contained within a computer, contained within a rectangle, how it fits with how it works in the physical space, not just on a screen. So I'll just slide through. It looks really nice at night. I like it at the night, but then that's what a lot of the dancing and the partying and raving, the algo raving, happens at the night. So it was quite. I'm not sure much more I can say about that, but I guess that was my piece. I'm going to stop for a moment. I have a question for you, Megan.
Yes.
Hello, Megan. So, I like your work. I really like it. I didn't really know your work prior to Green Man. In fact, no. I think I'd met you and seen some of your work online. But like one thing that caught my attention is that like these are really big projects. Like they're films, their videos, VR, print. Like I guess like is the festival setting, is that like a place you'd ever think to do it, like especially music festival setting, or was that like really out of the blue and scary?
It's a bit, well, to be honest, it's not out of the question. I work, I should have said as well, that I work with my partner and we make festival stages, so it's kind of like, well, he makes them and I've got involved over the years. So I think I wasn't a stranger to the festival environment at all. I'm not a stranger to making work there. And a lot of the materials that I use at the Trust that you might hang your lights on or something like that are all kind of from that world. But what is different is kind of creating a piece of artwork. Like but it's not like I want to differentiate between, I guess sometimes when you go to festival and you see artwork, what's different with the work at Green Man is there's a critical part behind it. It's not just decor. It sounds really scathing, but there is a bit of a difference. And I guess that's was the thing that was the kind of the nerve-wracking bit, was like, how do you impart that kind of backstory and give it its credence as an artwork, whether it was in because when something's in the gallery, it's always seen as high status, and something in a festival is seen as low status. So that was kind of the challenge to think about, and how people would engage with it and think about it as see beyond it for like it just being a thing in the festival that maybe looks interesting, but like try and get them to engage with it in the same way as they might think about something when they go to a gallery. So that was the challenge, yeah. And
it's interesting you say that, because like with what I do when I'm making visuals and doing it on stage, or like doing it at a festival even sometimes, not in a bad way, but I do sometimes think of it as being like a bit like wallpaper, very nice visual wallpaper. So I'm really used to I like working kind of backstage and doing things where it's central to the experience, but it's not like the focus. It's not you're there to see the visuals. So having an art program at a festival which like really centers the artist on the artwork, to the extent kind of like a gallery, was like, really? Okay, that's nice. That's no surprise that you're going to do that. And so it was nice that like to be treated, I guess, like the same as another artist the first like the same as musician, your name's on the poster, which was still really cool.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I suppose you are the same though. Like you operate within that kind of like slippage point, don't you? You know, you know, there's two ways which people can. For me, it's that there's a depth to your work that if people do go beneath the surface, they find out all the stuff that you're interested in, like you know, about copyright or about censorship and those sorts of things. That's really interesting. And I was just sort of wondering, like, actually, whether you like, how do you purposely steal stuff? Do you like, how far do you go to use stuff that is potentially you shouldn't be using, or yeah?
Oh, well, I always just like me, I don't steal anything, officer. No, so I think like I know there's something in comedy like where it's always punch up, like, you know, always. So if you see any of my works, I know that I showed you the one from Common Property, but like I did one after that, which is like lots of stickers. I always like take aim at Disney because they're a massive corporation, and if I'm gonna, and they have a history of bad things, doing bad things. So if I'm gonna be stealing from anyone, it's like them, and yeah, I just remix it, not necessarily just to like annoy them or anything, but more just because they're a big corporation, a big bad corporation. So I just want to make sure, like, you know, take back some rights which I feel they've taken away from us, and create something nice out of it. Like, yeah, it's the pictures which I make are like glitchy messes, are colourful. It's not like doing anything bad with the imagery, but yeah, it's just being I think it's and to be honest, every artwork, every piece of artwork is like inspired by or a remix of something else anyway, to different extents, because even like, you know, I'm going to say your work, but like it was it's inspired by things that you see. It's it's not just, it doesn't just come out the air. It's like a whole story, a whole narrative formed from things you've seen. So yeah,
I steal stuff, you know. I call it collaging, actually. Slightly different, but maybe that is a good way to look at it in this day and age where it's like, you know, that's what people have done for a long time, and especially like on the internet for memes and stuff like this, people can you know, we're always sharing and recirculating imagery, and like in a lot of places it's probably quite difficult to find out where things came from in the first place. At this point in time, you did Disney even like invent Mickey Mouse, really, you know?
Did they invent a mouse? Yeah.
And I was thinking as well, like, about because I know from talking to you at Green Man, you with the imagery that was on the cube, so you've taken Green Man fonts and things and stuff, haven't you?
Yeah, and this probably comes back from like, you know, doing the VJing work and doing live visuals, where it's always like to a client, you know, to a client's brief. I'm so used to working to a client, like to a brief set by someone else, that it just feels natural to use the imagery from the gallery, from the people, from whoever is commissioned me to do something. Why? I'm not sure why, but yeah, it's just what happens. And yeah, to glitch it a bit, to change it slightly. I
guess as well. Then there's a bit of feedback looping going on.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, there is. And like, I realized this recently. Pretty much the names of nearly all of my works and the imagery from nearly all of my, especially recent ones, are all stolen. They're all things that I've just seen, or like, there's a name of the name of a song, or the name of something else. I don't know. Like, it's always someone else's name that I just put on a different work. Maybe because I have no imagination whatsoever. And I can't think of anything.
I don't know, it sort of also says something about you, like, I kind of feel like it comes from it's got your personality in it. It's got your albums that you've listened to, or you've got like a sense of your history in it.
Yeah.
Like, that your hand is in there. And it's kind of interesting, and also maybe that was what makes it relatable to people as well, doesn't it? I'm like, I wonder if I had that CD.
Yeah.
It makes people think about their kind of popular culture experiences, but think about them in a different way.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about, I guess, the technological aspect of your work, because I didn't know, by the way, that you did, I guess, stages at festivals. And you see that, because that now makes a lot of sense with regards to what you do, like the scale, because as I said, I'm so used to working on a scale like this size, and like looking at your water projection pieces, and even like the videos that you're doing, like shot with a camera, but there's lots of special effects. Maybe there isn't lots of special effects, and when I say special effects, I mean like digital special effects. Is the technological aspect of does that play a big part? And is it like, are you thinking of going down that route of being like computery, or are you definitely kind of like more happier in the physical world, building these large stages and large productions?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm definitely that. I am really interested in technology and like how it opens out what you can make. Really, it's about what's the best thing to tell the story of the piece that I need to make. So I feel like I have to know a lot of stuff, because if I use the wrong material, whether it's a physical thing or a digital thing, then it won't be right. The work won't be told. So I'm not just using VR because it's new. Well, it is new, but I'm new to me, but I'm using it because I think it's the best way to tell, for example, the one in the screensaver, the best way to tell, I want people to feel like they've gone up into another planet or into the afterlife. For me, VR is definitely the number one best material medium that you can use to do that, because you're in another environment. Someone calls it like hijacking consciousness. So it totally changes you. Whereas another times something really physical would be better, like the box. But then I can play with scale. So it's just about having lots of things in your like tool belt, and then know which one to pull out when you need it. So I keep an eye on digital stuff, because I think, like at Green Man, there was a R in it, so people could scan the box and get text. If people get, and people did do it, but that was just another thing that was like, that's appropriate for this piece of work. I'd like to do something with AR again, but it's not necessarily I'm going to do everything in AR. And AR is like augmented reality, so just for those people that are not sure what I'm talking about. So it depends. There's stuff that I want to play with. I want to get better at certain things. I was really good at things, but it doesn't necessarily. I also don't like doing the same thing again. But I might go back to stuff.
Because with technology, especially, like I find that it just breaks. And it always breaks at the worst times, like when you're about to go on the stage or when something's about to open, the technology just breaks. You're saying because it's probably happened, right? Every
time, just before the show opens, it crashes. It's like, it's always like 5 minutes before the show, like rebooting the computer. No, don't let them in. Stay back. And then it just works like on the dot when the hour starts.
It's like even I like making things work. Like I like going to an exhibition and everything's just, wow, the computers are there and the technology's working, because the amount of times I've gone to, like, I guess, installations where it's got a sign saying, oh, sorry, it's out of order. But
it's nerve-wracking leaving a show with a lot of technology in it.
And especially
painting's a lot safer.
I know, right? I should probably just go back to being a painter again and not have to like deal with computers. A painting doesn't shut down randomly, does it?
No. But then can you not build that into your work? I mean, actually, there's a good question. Have you ever, I know you've got things that are glitched that you've influenced. Do you ever like allow things to, like, when's it too far? When's it too glitched or too broken? Or
Usually when there's fire, like
right.
no, like if there's smoke or fire, it's probably too glitched.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and even like doing visual work, like as long as there's something on the screen, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Because especially when you're doing sort of generative art, like you're allowing randomness to play a part in what you're doing, and it sometimes like the randomness generates a completely dark screen, and you just have to respond to it. You have to roll with it, and or change it up. But I like that unpredictability, or if anything, because even with some of the work that I'm making now, like it's generative, so I have some control. Like if it, and the good thing about computers, if it doesn't work, you can usually press undo and try again, which is what scares me about the real world. Because if you break like a piece of wood, you can't undo that. So this is why I admire like what you do, and because looking at the water projections, you did that, and I was like, there's water and there's electronics. Why is it still working? That shouldn't be working.
Well, there was a company involved, I should mention, who did that side of it. But no, it's actually not. I mean, it is sketchy. They're very expensive projectors, just floating on essentially a bit of polystyrene for like a week, and I'm just like, they're not mine. So I guess that's what they're there. Those people are there for, and they know how to run it. But I'd had seen it before. So out of that, I'd actually at a festival, Secret Garden Party.
Cool.
They had their water screens at one point, and then the guys from Cardiff, from the Eisteddfod, were like, we want to do a floating carnival, and I was like, not with people. I'm not being responsible for people. But wouldn't it be great to have some screens and some water? That would be much better. And so it was a big ask to get that done, because it was a huge project in terms, a lot of logistics, a lot of money. But Visit Wales also supported it, which was amazing. And that kind of became so much bigger because of the backing they got, and the team that was involved. And that's always the way it is as well with big projects. So it's not just me. It's definitely not just me.
I was going to ask that because I saw that like you done film basically. And you said you had Gruff Rhys in your one of your film. Did I pronounce his name right? I don't think I did.
Gruff Rhys, yeah.
Yeah, Gruff Rhys. Sorry. In one of your films, and it's like, would you call yourself a director? And like, is the scale of one of those projects like a 5-year plan, and you've had to plan it for like 5 years and so on, or is it? Do you turn it around very quickly?
It depends on what's usually. Ideally, a couple of years leading, a year suddenly feels quite tight. But I have done the Eisteddfod we did, like actually, I knew about it and I prepared for it, but actually we did it all in like 3 months.
Damn.
From first meeting all the community to the actual launch. So it's a full-on 3 months. But, it can be done. It's one of these things, if you've got money, then you can do things quicker. If you haven't, then you need time,
Yeah.
So either which way, you need, either money or time to get things done on a big scale. Okay, so I've just been thinking about how your work is made and generated, and I kind of wondered, like, obviously you let algorithms in, and you talked about glitches. But I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, they're all kind of like coded or written by you. how do you feel about like things like AI and artificial intelligence and the artwork? You know, because people are starting to use those kind of things as in art processes now. Is that something that you are interested in, or how do you feel about it?
Totally not. Yeah, with artificial intelligence, you know, it's just another script. It's just another piece of coding, and it's still another like system where it's making decisions that a human has programmed. True, like there's more, I say autonomy. It's not like the artificial intelligence itself doesn't necessarily think on its own feet. It's still being told how to think, but in one way it has a bit more freedom in how it does it. But yeah, so I don't really like the use of artificial intelligence within the art world, more because I think it justifies its existence. And we all know like there's lots of problems with artificial intelligence within the real world, quote unquote real world, with how it makes decisions that can have actual real effects on human beings. And when I see it within the art world, it's usually this rhetoric of like, oh no, artificial intelligence is going to replace artists, and soon we won't need though. We'll listen to music generated by computers and so on and so forth. And it's like, we already listen to music made by computers in one sense. Yeah, look at every electronic musician ever. And yeah, I just think that as a tool to help with decision making, it can be all right. But like when we just let computers try and make art, if art was only about aesthetics, if it was only about how it looks, then yeah, computers could take over. But you know, we like artwork also because of the artists, the people who make them, and the situation with which they're made in. Like we have a backstory, we have a history, you know, we're real people, believe it or not. And so I just think that like, yeah, as a tool to help with the creation of artwork, sure, but behind every AI, every computer, there's a person, and I'd like to know more about that person, what their thoughts and feelings going into making this program, this algorithm, this script, and what they are doing with it, rather than just going, "Ooh, look, it's magical! Ah, I'm a wizard."
Yeah, and I think you've in some of the stuff that you've written about, and that you do have an element of like you're interested in the ethics and stuff, and you know that the behind the scenes is an important part for you, isn't it? I guess like it's the makers, and I guess as well because you kind of reveal that a little bit in your live work, don't you? You kind of break the magic behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz kind of thing. So maybe I can understand that that's sort of, we need to see your hand in it for it to be your work, maybe.
You're right though, with the algorithm stuff, you know, just so people aren't aware, when people do algorithms, they're programming stuff live on stage, but you can see their programming as they're writing it. So it's like you can see when someone types like bass drum, that a bass drum starts, and you don't have to necessarily understand the programming, but you can see what they're doing, and so it demystifies a lot of it. And you know, it's just a person. After all, there's a human programmed it, and I hope that more people see that, and one, they're inspired to like make it them to take it upon themselves. You know, if they want to learn programming, they can hopefully be inspired to do it. And then two, realize that, you know, computers, you can learn them and you can understand them.
Well, it's almost like, I'm thinking about it now, like it's like an instrument. You're like a musician. Maybe, or a composer, more than, you know, like this. I'm starting to see that from talking to you that there's similarities between the language of music and the language of coding, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, it's all constructed ways of, it's all rules and behaviors. Like, you know, do this here, do that there. Yeah, they're definitely different levels of complexity in different areas, but a lot of it's just like rule-based performance. But yeah, overall, they're like, again, the whole AI is taking over the world.
No.
No.
No, it's the humans who will survive. We just Awesome.
Yeah, cool. Well,
that was really super interesting conversation. I want to talk more.
It was good to speak to you as well, and I look forward to being able to see humans in real life.
Yeah.
And this
I know.
here,
I know.
This little box.
And very quickly, like I said, I don't know if it's possible, we should just mention Antonia and I are going to be working together on a project with a bunch of graduates from across the UK and around the world. It's called Spur, and there'll be a platform called spur.world, which the graduates will be working as avatars and creating alternative online identities and producing artworks on the website and trying to change the world of art through the virtual space. And Antonia is going to be one of the practitioners who'll be also going on the residency, but also helping them produce new work and blowing their minds.
Yeah, it's going to be cool, hopefully. Yeah, it will be, definitely.
It will be cool. It'll be great.
Yeah.